America's Cold War Secrets, Newly Uncovered Files. Deep in the vaults of U.S. government archives, once classified papers are resurfacing, and they paint a strikingly different portrait of the Cold War than the public has long known. In 2025, the National Declassification Center, or NDC, quietly released hundreds of thousands of pages from previously secret projects, foreign policy cables, military records, and intelligence agency files. These disclosures are opening new windows into shadowy Cold War decisions, hidden strategies, nuclear weapons fears, and covert operations that helped shape global history. Some of the most eye-opening revelations come from documents tied to the Nth Country Experiment, a top-secret Cold War-era research project that quietly tested whether a small group of physicists, using only unclassified, publicly available information and ordinary lab equipment, could build a working nuclear bomb. According to the newly declassified report, 3 young PhD physicists, working part-time, did exactly that. Within 3 years, they assembled a credible nuclear weapons design. That revelation still sends chills. It underscored how quickly nuclear capability could proliferate, a grim reminder of what the late 1940s arms race between the United States and the Soviet Union had set in motion. Beyond theoretical experiments, the new files reveal real-world plans and covert operations once deemed too sensitive for public eyes, including psychological warfare, intelligence-gathering missions, and clandestine collaborations with foreign governments. For instance, recently declassified documents from the Central Intelligence Agency, or CIA, shed light on a sweeping surveillance program operated with the cooperation of the Mexican government. The program, codenamed Operation Leonvoy, targeted Soviet and other leftist embassies and individuals and ran for decades, an enduring symbol of Cold War paranoia that few outside the intelligence community ever knew about. Other files expose the U.S. government's darker experiments in mind control and behavioral manipulation under the infamous Project MKUltra. Over 1,200 pages recently declassified describe how the CIA used drugs, hypnosis, sensory deprivation, and other intrusive methods, often on unwitting American and Canadian citizens, in a desperate bid for interrogation advantages during the Cold War. These revelations open a painful window into violations of civil liberties carried out in the name of national security. Meanwhile, declassified military and diplomacy-related archives show that many Cold War flashpoints, from arms control talks to naval deployments, were handled with far more secrecy than previously believed. According to the NDC's 2025 release lists, large troves of deck logs from U.S. naval ships, 1953 to 1974, State Department top-secret telegrams, and records tied to arms control negotiations, such as the Strategic Arms Limitation Talks, or SALT, have recently become available. Why does this matter nearly 3 decades after the Cold War ended? Because the newly released archives force us to reevaluate what we thought we knew. The ideological contest between East and West is often simplified into a binary narrative: democracy versus communism, freedom versus oppression. But these documents reveal a more complex, morally ambiguous picture, one where democracies used propaganda, psychological operations, and clandestine sabotage, where nuclear proliferation was treated as a real, immediate threat, where cooperating governments sometimes blurred the line between ally and accomplice. For historians, the torrent of new material is a goldmine. The newly available docs complement earlier archives, including the files housed in the National Security Archive and the public access database maintained by the private site, the Black Vault, which has logged thousands of Freedom of Information Act requests related to Cold War-era secret projects. But even for casual readers, the revelations are haunting. One doesn't have to dig deep to see how close humanity came to catastrophe. Take, for example, the Cold War-era psychological programs. While many of the methods used by MKUltra and related efforts were eventually discredited or halted, the fact that they were pursued, and often without consent, is a stark reminder that fear can warp ideals. Or consider the Nth Country experiment. The very fact that a weapon of mass destruction could be designed by a handful of scientists using publicly available knowledge challenges assumptions about the exclusivity of nuclear deterrence. These new files also deepen our understanding of the global Cold War, beyond US-Soviet binaries. The CIA's collaboration with the Mexican government under Operation Leonvoy shows how Cold War tensions shaped politics in regions many Americans seldom associate with that era. Former allies and neutral nations alike became chess pieces. The release raises new questions. How many more clandestine alliances remain hidden? What other surveillance or covert operations were jointly run with foreign governments and are still locked away? Yet even with all these revelations, the archive remains incomplete. Some newly released records have redactions. Other projects, like the Warsaw Pact Early Warning Indicator Project, remain only partly visible, with many pages still withheld from public view. Even now, historians warn that national security concerns continue to limit access to certain sensitive records, especially those related to nuclear capabilities, intelligence source identities, and operational methods still relevant today.